Seems legit.
Hello Legitimates, welcome back to my channel. Today I decided to do a fun little accessory that are quite quick. So this is something that my friend sent me a photo of and said, can you make them? The answer is of course. So we've got a swivel clip and a zipper. And then when we open this up, you can clip it to a bag and then you can hang like your jumper or something in here. It's like a jumper loop or a hanging loop. Because sometimes you just usually flick it through your strap on your crossbody, but if you don't have a crossbody bag and you're using just a normal shoulder bag, this is where you can then hang your jumper. Really quick. I did try another option on how to finish off the top, but it didn't work, but I've left it in the video and showed you that it didn't work. So let's get started on making these.
Alright, so let me just explain what I've cut and prepped. So I have cut a 20-inch piece of zipper tape, and then I've split it in half, and that will make two separate ones of these. Then I have cut two pieces of fabric that are 20 inches by 2 inches, so that should give us like a ½ inch extra. I have used the same fabric for both, but you can, of course, do different fabrics. I do suggest you make them in pairs though, so you don't end up with a whole bunch of random half pieces of zipper everywhere. Just my opinion. So for each of them you will need one zipper pull, which I have here, and then I'm going to make both of these slightly different. So one of them I am going to use a key fob end because I think it'll be pretty, and then I have attached a ½ inch swivel clip purely so we can clip it to the bag nice and easy. And then for this one over here, I have a 1 inch swivel clip. They don't have to be swivel, but they are my favorite type. And I have cut a little accent piece. Now this is from a 1½ inch strap piece. And then this part here is where we pop this. The little V is so that it fits like so. So that will then just be sewn in. So you can do it either way. I'm going to show both just for funsies. So we are now off to the iron. Alright, so the iron is nice and hot. So you can do this two ways. The first way is we fold both sides into the center like so, and then start ironing them down. So we're just going to move along slowly. I tend to lift the front up a bit so it doesn't drag them and make them crooked. You can also add interfacing to this if you really want to. I personally don't think it's worth it, but if you've got a very soft, flimsy fabric, you might want to. So now that we've ironed that way, we're going to fold it in half and iron again. You want to really make sure it's properly in half, so take the time. That's my preferred way to do that. Alright, so you've now got no raw edges except these ends, which is fine because we'll be covering them anyway. So that's one. The other way to do it, and this is how I used to do it, was I'd fold it in half and iron the halfway point, like so. And then we'll open it up and put both of the edges to that line. So now you can see where the center is. And I'm just going to iron one side and then I'll iron the other. And I'm making sure that the iron doesn't go over that center line, otherwise you're going to iron it again. Lots more ironing this way, in my opinion. But you might like this better because if you can't judge the center, this might work better for you. So again, other side to the center. And then I will do a third iron, or a fourth, or whatever we're up to. And then iron it in half to make sure that the edges join. So you can do it either way. There is no right or wrong, really. I just think the other way is quicker, and that's why I do it the other way. You can also use a steam iron, but do be careful if your fingers are in the way. I have set my iron to as hot as it'll go to achieve that much. So now that we've got this all ironed, we can go to the machine. Alrighty, so let's just take one of the pieces, and then we're going to take our zipper tape and place the zipper tape inside the fold like so. You want to get pretty close. Right, so we're going to get pretty close. I've got my machine on. And then I am just going to basically top stitch the zipper over. I always like to back stitch at the start. You won't see it because it'll be covered anyway. And I'm just using a silver thread because I can. So I'm just lining this up evenly along. And because we've ironed it in half, it should line up pretty perfectly. Try not to stretch your fabric. Cotton does have quite a bit of stretchiness to it. So just be careful that you're not pulling on it. And there we go. Like that. And then back stitch. And I don't have my snips here. It's alright, we'll use some scissors. It's the same thing. So you want to check the back, make sure you've got it. It should now look like this random... Oh, there's my snips right there. My gosh. Don't judge me, it's early in the morning. Alright, so now that that's done, we're going to take the zipper and we're going to install it. Now, I'm not too worried about the fabric not being even, but you do want your zipper to be even, if possible. The answer is it's always possible. So that's now what we should have. It should zip onto itself like that. Ooh, I actually don't know if this is going to work. I'm wondering if it's going to be too wide, because now that that's together, it is 1.5 wide. So because of that, we actually won't be able to use these because I've only got ones that are 1 inch wide, which is fine. So we're going to take this. I'm also going to change over my foot to a skinnier foot. Even though I do love the Teflon foot, I want to be able to get closer to the hardware. So this should work because it's skinnier. So this is also a Teflon foot, or so they say. I think it's just plastic, but it'll still do the job. And the reason we want that is because, oops, we want to be able to slide over our vinyl. So to make this as easy as possible, I personally suggest double-sided tape. So we're going to put tape on both sides of this and then kind of line it up most of the way and then stitch it there. Let's grab some double-sided tape. Now this is 3/4 inch. I am just going to put one piece in the middle. But the other option that you have, and I'll do it on the other side, is you can put horizontal pieces and you should get 2 of the wider stuff. If you've got thinner, my suggestion would be to do 2 strips of it closer to the edges. So I'm going to peel off the backing of that one and then place a second piece down because it is going to slightly overlap. And I'm going to cut off that corner because otherwise it's going to stick out. See, look at that. Beautiful. You probably don't need that much tape, but the more tape you have, the more it will stick. So if you're worried about it moving, or if you've never kind of done this thing before, you'll want to use lots of double-sided tape. You could also use glue. The downside to glue is then you have to wait for it to dry. You can't sew wet glue. It'll get in your machine and break stuff. Don't do it. So if you were going to batch these, you could probably sew them all and then glue them together and have like a whole pile, and then you can just come and top stitch at the end. Now, because this fabric is a little uneven, that's my fault. I would have stretched it a little bit. Remember how I said don't do that? Sometimes it happens. So if you're worried, or if you do find that it's stretching, what you can do instead is put interfacing on the back, and that'll stop the stretching. So I've stuck it on just below the angle point because we don't want to see it. And then I'm going to fold this over and I'm going to start here and line that bit up and then line up the other side. So like that. It's adorable. I like it. You can also do these in fabric if you wanted to. I don't want to, but you could. And because I'm stitching vinyl, I have now gone up to a size 4 stitch length. I'm going to place this in, and then we're going to sew slowly next to the hardware. What just happened there? Did you guys see that? I saw that. It pulled. And we have a giant rat's nest at the back. I don't know what just happened then, but it does not like it. Could be the foot. Has been known to happen. Nothing but drama some days. I've never loved this foot. Maybe I should just switch back. The reason I didn't want to use this foot is because I wanted to get close to the hardware. But if it's going to be a jerk, we'll try once more. If it's going to be a jerk, I will switch the foot back. Also might help if I put the foot down. Could absolutely have been totally my fault. Now this should be fine to do on a semi-industrial or even a domestic. There's not that many layers we're stitching through right now. What we do want to do though is get these corners nice. Even if you have to position it sometimes, that's okay. Pivot. Pivot again. And then pivot up to the edge. Backstitch, or you can tie them off. Yeah, no, I'm not happy with that stitching at all. The front looks fine, right? But the back looks crap. This is why I just use the other machine, but it also could be to do with the foot. The foot is important because it helps hold everything together. So I am actually going to undo this because I don't like it. And there's no tension here. All right, I've cut another one. Let's try this again. And then I'm going to see if I can make the other end work where we use the hardware instead of sewing, because I have faith, and I had a thought, that I could probably get it to work. So line that up, fold it over, line it up again, make sure that everything is ready, and then I'm on a 4 stitch length. I'm going to stitch forward, back. I do like this foot. Gives a good tension, I guess, is the word I'm after. I'm also making sure I don't tamper too much with the stitches, because that might have had something to do with why it was weird before. I'm going to back stitch, and then we're going to check the back. It could be my tension because I don't do a lot of sewing of heavy oh, see, better, absolutely better. So now, if you want to carry your jumper, you just open it up and then stuff it through. I mean, you could stuff anything through, really. But that looks really pretty with that nice zip end there. So let's try the other one, because I was thinking about it while I was cutting out stuff. And I reckon, I was going to make another one, as you can see, but I reckon I can get it to work. So, again, we're going to put the zipper in here. And I like to have the zipper teeth facing up, because in my personal opinion, top stitch is always nicer than the understitch. It just is. It's how it is. They don't look identical. They never will. Such is life. So, you could also do these in vinyl if you wanted. Oh, and I just come unthreaded. That was also my fault for not leaving a big enough tail. It is one thing I have maybe got a little bit lazy on since using my other machine. Not gonna lie. I'm going to backstitch out of habit. I'm also going to go to a joining stitch length of 2.5. If I was doing this in vinyl, then I would probably leave it as a longer stitch length, because sometimes too many holes in a vinyl is bad. So again, if you're making these out of leather, you could absolutely do that. In we go. Again, trying not to stretch it at all. It happens sometimes. Don't be upset if you do it, but we are trying not to. Right, check, done. Let's put our zipper on. So to put the zipper on, I put my fingers, I use my middle finger and my thumb to kind of stop it going any further. And then I put my finger on the top so it can't go backwards. We're going to grab it, bring it up, And then the way I do it is I'm kind of pinching like this with my other hand, but I'm going to hold this on top, and then you just want to try and line the zipper tape up visually like this, and then push. And the push should then get it to go on, and you can see there, perfectly lined up. Zip it up, good to go. Now, obviously, this is 1.5 inches, and this is only 1 inch. And we need to fix that discrepancy. Again, cut off any less. That was less than last time, but obviously I still stretched it a little bit. Or I cut it unevenly. That is also an option. So, if I was to just put that straight on there, see how there's like bits hanging out? This would eventually fray and look terrible. So, me and a sew-all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this edge and kind of poke it in on itself like that. I know that looks, you know, like not a big deal. I'm just going to hold that with a clip, and then on this side we're going to take this edge and poke it in, and hopefully this is going to give us that lessness that we need. I know it's not really a word, bear with me, right? The main thing we care about is getting these edges inside here. So all I'm trying to do is basically poke that to be less. The other option is you could fold it over, but I do think that the poking is probably going to work better. Again, I haven't tried this. We could also just kind of flatten it on itself like that. And then again, we're going to check it. It's only a little bit. It's only 1/4 inch on each side that we need to get gone. So we could almost just scrunch it in and squish it. I'm wondering if scrunching it might be the better way to go. Now I have these beautiful pliers that I use to do this. You can also get a plate for your cam press that will squash them. So what I'm doing is I'm rolling this to the back, like so, and then we're going to pop that on there, and then we're just going to squish it in place. So I'm going to hold that. Oops, it fell again. This is fiddly, not going to lie, very fiddly, but also might be amazing. So we only need 1/4 inch less on each side. So maybe if I hold it like that, pop it under, making sure that everything's in, and then I'm going to squish, and then I'm going to use 2 hands and really squish that down. I mean, not bad. It still did its job. It will, I'm going to, oh, no, okay, so I pulled on that and that did not last at all. So maybe not, guys, because you got to remember it's going to have a jumper in it. So I would say no to these, and I'm going to leave this in the video so that you know that that's a no. So either get bigger ones or just stick to the vinyl option, because that did not work out at all like we were hoping. So I'm going to try and open it up again by just putting my scissors in and twisting them to open it, and then make sure that that's probably not going to be able to be used again, but you might be able to pull it all apart. Either way, that is not an option because it doesn't hold enough. Because you've got to remember it's going to have a weighted thing. Things get caught. This, not going anywhere. I can pull that as hard as I can and we're good. So I think this is the way to stay. This was a cool idea, but either get bigger ones that will maybe have more teeth or something, because it didn't get a good enough grip once we folded it. So we will stick with the pretty ends like this. So it's just a 1 inch clip and a 1.5 inch stabilizing piece. Still very cool idea. Great accessory. You could make them all up to add to bags because you could hang a lot of stuff in there. You could also use this to then hang carabiners to go shopping. I mean, I don't know how strong this would be for all your shopping ever, but like I'm pulling on that and it's not shifting at all. So it's a fun little accessory. If you can think of other accessories you'd like me to do videos of, please pop them in the description and I will get onto them. Until next time, guys. Bye.